So I've got this picture of an alarm clock that I want to use in my infographic, but I just want the alarm clock. I don't want the background, and I want the background to be transparent. So this little tutorial is about using the selection tool, select the background and then cut it out to make it transparent. There's a bunch of tools that we can use. I'm just going to show you some options. It comes down to personal preference in some ways, that sometimes there's the best tool for the job. So I've talked about the Magic Wand tool in class. Magic Wand tool selects everything that is like the thing you clicked on. So I clicked in this area, so it selected a lot of stuff a bit like that. I can change the tolerance. Tolerance is 50 at the moment, so that's how much like the clicked pixel the rest of it needs to be selected. So if I turn it up to say 80 and then click again somewhere, you see it selects a whole bunch more stuff. In fact, it selects some of the clock itself as well. And if I turn it down to say 20, then I only get stuff that's very much like it. One option that we've got though when we're doing selection is to add and subtract from the selection that we're using. So the best way to do this is to use the Shift and Alt keys on your keyboard. So if I hold down Shift, if I hold down Shift, you can see probably that there's a little plus appears, and now what I click again will add to the selection I've made. So I can keep clicking that plus, and I can keep adding to the selection. And if I find that inadvertently it selects something it shouldn't, like it has here, I can hold down the Alt, and now I get a little minus, and I can click and I can subtract that from the current selection. So that's a good way to Shift is to add bits, and then Alt is to subtract bits. So you can work through it that way, and it works quite well. And you can even change like the tools. So for instance, down this bottom left corner is a complete mess with different bits being selected. So I'm going to choose to use the just boring old lasso tool down here. Hold down the Shift key, and I'm just going to select that whole lot, and now that's all added to the selection. Now I'm just going to do Control X to see what that looks like, and an immediate problem is that it's not transparent, it's white. That seems to be for various reasons. One thing to try, go over to the Layers window over here, right click and Layer from Background, and whatever that does, if I try the same again, if I just select all of that, use the Magic Wand again, and Control X, I get my transparency. Sometimes that layer from background is grayed out, and in that case it will be a problem with the encoding. This one's RGB color, that's correct, that's why it worked there. Anyway, I'm going to show you a couple of other tools, because you can do it with just that works. But there's some other good selection tools that you need to see so you can make a good choice about which ones. I'm just going to bring up my history window so I can. History window is a useful way of seeing what I've been doing recently. You can see these are all the things that I've done since I've started this video. I can click back to any particular point that I want to, but I'm actually going to go right back to the beginning here. Get that out of the way for the moment, and I'll just layer from background again because that was one of the last things I did. Right, so the tool that I'm going to use now, I'm going to use the Quick Select tool, which is like the Magic Wand but better. So if I use the Quick Selection tool, and I'm just going to click somewhere, and I'm just going to kind of drag around. It does exactly the same thing as the Magic Wand, but more intelligently somehow. So you see I've just done a quick little drag over in this area, and if I go Control X, I've actually done a really good job. I've got a problem here though, I've got a bit missing, so I'm just going to Control Z. You can always undo one step using Control Z. You use the history window to undo more than one step. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same as I did before and hold down the Alt key. So I've got a minus instead of a plus. And I can now add to my selection. I've got a very small brush here. I'm just going to use the square bracket keys on my keyboard to change the size of that brush. Kind of a useful thing to do. And I'm going to carry on subtracting from my selection. In theory, the Quick Select tool learns as you go what kind of things you want in your selection and what you don't. So if I select all of this lot and hold down Alt to deselect this bit, well, my brush is too big now, so use minus keys to do that. So add this bit to the selection, add this bit to the selection, all the way around here, and it's doing a pretty good job on the whole, all the way around here as well. Not this bit, hold down Alt, click on that bit, but I do want to include this bit, and then zoom in. Always really valuable to be able to zoom right in, and then you can say, oh, I don't want this bit here, or no, I do want that bit there. Yeah, that's right. And you can see it's kind of learning as we go which bits we wanted there. If I zoomed right in, I need a smaller brush, so just get rid of that bit there. And you can really make some fine adjustments if you want to down in this kind of area. Just take a little bit of care to do it right. Oh, this bit needs to be included. Is that right? Or no, unincluded. I always forget which bit I'm actually selecting when I'm doing something like this, and kind of scrub around there. Yeah, you get the idea. So if I now go Control X on this, it won't be perfect, but a pretty good quick job. And if I Control Z, I'll be able to add these bits in. There's other select tools as well. Magnetic lasso tool can be really useful under some circumstances, and under the select menu there's a whole bunch of other things that we can do. So for example, you can select by color range or focus area, but I'm just going to last thing to show you the select and mask. Select and mask shows you kind of what you've selected here, and you can do some things like edge detection, which can be really good if you've got like a hair. Hair's so hard to select, but edge detection can actually find hair for you, and you kind of fiddle around with the slider a little bit, and you can smooth things out a bit. Always a good idea to zoom in and see what you're doing as well. Okay, and you can feather the edge as well if you want a bit of a blurred edge to your selection. And if I go OK on that, you'll see what a feathered edge looks like when I actually do it. Not much different, to be honest. So there's a lot of tools, and that's just a very quick 7-minute introduction, but it's probably enough to get you through most of what you need to do with using select tools.